Welcome to another episode on Kobe MC Photography's channel. Things have been a bit slow, so to speak. I've just been really busy with life, as I mentioned in my previous YouTube short yesterday. With that said, this is a video that I was trying to get together. I went out to the Canadian National Exhibition. Very interesting place. If you are not familiar with it, it is basically a very large carnival, which is held for a 2-week period in Toronto. The crazy thing is the amount of visitors that appear every year within that 2-week period. It is always hovering around 2 million visitors over a 2-week period. That's insane. So obviously, I could not shoot as many shots as I wanted. I was with my daughter and a couple of her friends. So, with that kind of crowd of people, I really needed to focus on keeping an eye on them instead of focusing on keeping my eye on the viewfinder, so to speak. Right? Just trying to be responsible. Just trying to do the responsible thing. But I did actually get some shots with some experimentation. There was something specific that I was trying to go for. And then after the Canadian National Exhibition, I will show you the images of the hunting, I found out the phrase. They're called hawking gulls when they're flying in the air and snatching insects and stuff. But let's just get into these images here from the Canadian National Exhibition. Now, I did use the K3 Mark III and the DA Star 1650 f 2.8 PLM, as well as my variable ND Neewer filter, because that was the only way I was going to be able to get these shots in broad daylight. Needed to have a variable strength ND filter just to get that shutter speed just where I wanted it. And so let's just look. So here is what I'm talking about. In regards to experimenting, this is just a simple shot, nothing special. It's just a photo. They're on the swings. And believe it or not, I was using AFC while I was doing this. I did that on purpose because I just wanted to see if it actually would focus along the edges here. And it did. It's just my shutter speed at 1/500th of a second, as it shows here. Just was not fast enough for the speed that the outer areas were actually moving. This is good though. This is all good. And I was at f8 at ISO 320. It's not bad. I was pretty impressed. AFC did worked well. With that said, that is not the shot I actually was going for. I did this one on purpose to show you a before and after. So this is just a static shot, nothing exciting, doesn't really rev up your engine, so to speak. It's just a nice snapshot. So I went from that to lowering the shutter speed quite a lot. So this was at 1/30th of a second. And look at the difference. I mean, now it has a story. They are swinging. They are spinning fast, and you can see which elements of this actually do spin. So you can see that this spins a tad bit, this spins faster, this not so much, and this is completely static. And even for a shot of 1/30th of a second, not bad handheld, not bad at all, not bad. And then I dropped it down even further. I took a couple of shots at 1/30th of a second, and then I think that's the operator there. Yeah, there's the operator. And from here, I dropped it down. I think this is it. Yeah, to 1/10th of a second. So this is 1/10th of a second, and I mean now they're starting to completely blend in. You can really see the movement here. Really see the movement. However, even at 1/10th of a second, you can still make out the details of all the static subjects, right? So now you can see this is clearly moving. This is clearly moving. This is moving. And this is really moving. And these people are just like flinging. Flinging. So again, that's 1/30th of a second. and 1/10 of a second. Huge difference when it comes to motion blur. So that minute change can make that much of a difference in regards to how you're capturing motion with the camera. And this was 1/20th of a second. So I think 1/20th was actually perfect because it does give that rotating movement look while still keeping the subjects just recognizable enough to know that they are people, right? Versus 1/10 of a second where you're not even sure, because I mean, you can kind of tell if you've seen this before, you already know these are people and your brain will correlate that for you. But if you've never seen this before, you wouldn't really know what this stuff is, right? So I think 1/20th of a second was the shot, the shutter speed to capture exactly what I was looking for. And from here, this thing here is actually, I used to love this thing. It used to be called the Gravitron. And it's just basically you go inside and you lay against the wall here. And it's a platform that slides up and down that you're leaning against. Yeah, so you're kind of sitting on an angle like this. Well, you're standing. And then as it spins, the G-forces push you against the wall. And then it moves up and takes you off the ground. But then as it slows down, then it comes back down again. So my daughter and her friends went on this thing, and I just wanted to see if I could capture some kind of spinning something or other. If you haven't seen it before, it wouldn't really make any difference because you would have absolutely no idea. But looking at the LED lights here, I know it's spinning. You wouldn't actually know that, but it is spinning pretty fast, and you can see the motion blur of this person walking by. And this was shot at 1/8 of a second. So 1/8 of a second, handheld, no tripod, nothing. Looks good, right? Yeah, so when you are experimenting, the thing is, it's not always going to work. You know, some things that you may be trying to shoot, it just may not work. And this shot here, I believe, yeah, this was way overexposed, like insanely overexposed. I just wasn't paying attention to the settings. I just went to shoot, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. That ain't right. That ain't right at all. So you can see this is all gray. This is all blown out. But before I dropped the highlights down, this was the whole thing, all the grays, everything was completely and utterly blown out. You couldn't figure out the windows, couldn't see the sign here. It was it was monstrously blown out. And then this is, I believe, oh no, that's not it. This is the proper exposure here. So what I was trying to do is capture these people doing this drop thing, right? The only thing is, because it's not using rear curtain sync. Yeah, there we go. Because it's not using rear curtain sync, it didn't quite come out the way I thought it would. And I tried it again later at night, and yeah, it still did not come out the way I thought it was going to. I'm just gonna skip over one of them here. All right, so I've just rifled off a bunch of shots one after another, and this was at 1/15 of a second. In high speed, I was using AFS for this. This is at ISO 100. You know, but you still have an idea. I mean, you can kind of tell, you know, that there is something dropping, but it could also be going up, right? So, you know, sometimes experimentation doesn't quite work the way you would think, but the only way to really know is to actually do the experimentation. So, you know, the nice thing about it is you can go and take shots of mundane things, and just by changing your technique, they become less mundane. You can create something new. Like, again, here's that spinning thing again. It was slowing down, so as you can see, the lights themselves are not just a string of lights all the way across, and you can see the motion here, just on the edges here. So, you know, and then the evening came. I saw the moon. I was like, oh man, that's really cool. But I couldn't get the moon dark while getting all this as well, so it was a compromise. So the moon is brighter than I wanted it to be. And originally, just to be completely transparent, originally the moon was hovering just over this thing here, but by the time I went back to actually get the shot, it's when I realized, oh, okay, the moon's moved way too much, not going to happen. And I shot this at 1/15th of a second at ISO 640. I was hoping I could get more motion blur from this as it was rotating, but that did not happen. So yeah, there goes that. But again, I was just experimenting with different things, and that's this is how it came out. So don't be afraid to experiment. You're not going to nail every single thing in regards to experimentation. That's why it is an experiment. And again, here I was trying to capture this moving. Didn't quite come out the way I thought it was going to, though. Let's see if I can find the other one that's a bit faster of a shutter speed. There we go. So there's people on here, but again, this did not quite come out the way I was expecting. If I was by myself, I would have taken the time to find the perfect angle and do a bunch of other things in order to actually capture that spot or that device exactly how I wanted. But given the circumstances, they were in line. I was just shooting from where we were, waiting in line. Yeah, so that it was still interesting. Let's see, what else do I have here? Okay, so this was at night, obviously, and this is that same drop thing. And that one, yeah, I was too shaky with that one. And then I brought it back. There we go. And what did I shoot this at? I shot this at 1/4 of a second. I'm not even sure exactly what that means. But yeah, so I was trying to get the secondary platform coming down because it has lights on it. And that's where you'll notice, okay, so here's the people. It's kind of interesting. You can actually see right through here. I was trying to capture this platform coming down after the fact. So let's see, there we go. So this is just as it was starting to come down. And then I waited just a tad bit more, and there we go. Now, what I was expecting was a much longer trail of lights. I didn't realize this platform doesn't come down as fast as I thought. So that it worked, but it didn't quite work, at least for the vision that I thought, that I was thinking of. Didn't quite work out the way I was expecting. And then there was another swing thing that I took a shot of, and you can't even tell that these are people, but I just like how this came out. It's just very interesting and cool. And all this is not dust. This is all reflection from these extremely bright floodlights that were lighting the ground. But this whole thing just rotates. Yeah, and then just to show, this is what the actual device is. This is the entire device. So everything just kind of rotates. Yeah, it's nuts. It was, wow. Yeah, like to think that turns into this, kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. And then to finish this off, just a gigantic up and down slide. And that was it for that. And then the next day I went to... that's not going to work. There we go. Okay, I went to wildlife conservation area and was doing more shots of gulls hawking insects in the sky. So it was interesting. I still have no idea what insects they're actually capturing. But I was using the DFA 150-450. Initially, I had the 1.4 time teleconverter on it, and let me actually explain something here. So if you are using the 1.4 time teleconverter, such as how I was, and you're noticing that your photos seem to be out of focus no matter what you do, just tad bit out of focus, a little hazy, they're not quite sharp like you would expect, just take the teleconverter off and use the lens natively. When you get back home, actually take your time and inspect the glass on the 1.4 time teleconverter. I had a very, very, very slight substance. I don't know what it was. That was obscuring part of the glass. I cleaned that up and tested it again, and it was super sharp again. So I don't know what that was on the glass, but obviously it was messing with the image quality. The focus was fine. It was the image quality, but it manifested itself as if it was out of focus, even though it was not. Yeah, so keep that in mind next time you're out, and if you're having issues and you're not happy with the way the images are coming, just take off the teleconverter, use the lens natively, crop in after the fact, clean the teleconverter, and then try again, and it's probably going to be fine. Okay, so let's get some of these guys here. Oh, there we go. Nice, right in the beak there. Let's find some others. And these are just, I was using my usual settings of, type 1 autofocus with the auto exposure sensor. And I was using select, actually for these I was using select small for the autofocus array. And I was utilizing the trackability mode, which worked very, very well. Once I realized that the teleconverter was an issue, then everything came out perfect. Yeah, so this is, look at that, perfectly, just caught it right in the beak. Yummy, yummy. Yeah, so I was out there, I was out here for a number of hours. Honestly, there were just so many gulls just flying around. It was hard to figure out which one should I, should I go after? Should I go after this one? Should I go after this one? I have no idea. There's just way too many to choose from. So I was just basically hoping that I would capture something. And this one I thought was kind of funny. So there we go. Looks like it's perfectly lined up. Everything is good. And then, nope, I'm going to duck right under you. And this gull is like, oh, are you kidding me? How did I miss that? Yeah, so it was a fun time. It was tiring because I was scanning the area left, right, and center, just trying to capture as many of these gulls as possible. But then, there were specific shots that I wanted to catch, such as the one where, the insect is right in the beak, like perfectly in the beak. The one where the gull's looking behind itself, that was just a bonus. I was not expecting to actually capture something like that. Here's a duck flying by. Hello, ducky. Oh, right, and then there's this turkey vulture that was coming, so I had to capture that. The mean eye. And then this one, I think, was a gull that, was keeping an eye on whatever the insect was. It was just trying to flip directions and do its thing. And then I went and captured some reflections of ducks. And this is all with the 150/450 with no teleconverter. This spot here, I wanted to capture these. It's not the greatest, only because the ducks are sleeping, but the water was completely still, and that's what I wanted. So I didn't mind that the ducks were, their heads are turned and they're all sleeping. I wanted just that crazy reflection. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about what else the ducks were doing. Let me see here. One of these is in live view. I think, it's this one. Yeah, this one I shot in live view. It worked perfectly fine. Just tap to focus in live view and it worked great. No problem whatsoever. I was able to get super low. I didn't have to even touch my knee to the ground. I just held the camera out in front of me. Basically held the camera out in front of me. The strap was around my neck, just to where the strap would end. held the camera out like so, just crouched down, and then just tapped the screen, and that was it. So again, me personally, I understand the touch screen, or sorry, the flip out screen thing, but it really has not been that kind of deal breaker for myself. And I'm sure a lot of others, it really won't be a deal breaker. Under extreme circumstances, yes, I can understand that if you're shooting overhead, like way above your head, like straight up, and you need that view, that screen to be facing straight down, yes, absolutely cannot go without a touchscreen for situations like that. But for most shooting, if you're going to be using live view, I still think the wide angle view screen on the K3 Mark III is more than good enough. And whoa, this video is 20 minutes long. 21 minutes. So I think that should be it. Yeah. So what do you think of the images? Basically, just going over, just mentioning the settings and things like that. For the Gulls, I was using 1/4000th of a second at f8. Yeah, and just letting the ISO float in TAV mode. And that's pretty much it. So if you like the video, leave a like. If you have not already, please do subscribe. Always helps out. If you'd like to support the channel, that information is at the bottom of the description as well. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And you'll see me on my next video. I'm out.